Section 4, Activities. Introduction and Modeling. First, I will refresh the students' memories of what we have planned for the day by reading out the objectives from the whiteboard, then by going into further detail. After having done this, I will quickly go over the writing process with the students based on handouts they have in their notebooks. Finally, I will pull up the example journal entry that I have written and show it to the students on the whiteboard, going over key elements so that the students understand exactly what they will be expected to do for that day. Guided practice. The previously mentioned example journal entry was a guided practice mechanism created at an earlier point in time, step by step, in front of the students, with much questioning and discussion during the process of writing the entry using the whiteboard. After this, we created graphic organizers together, with my example created on the whiteboard as the students followed along. Throughout the entire work process, as students work individually on their journal entries and when they work in pairs to critique and provide feedback, I will be circulating through the room to intervene wherever necessary in order to correct or praise the use of proper strategies and to keep students on task and make sure they are performing the proper operations to meet their objectives. I will observe separate students in groups and ask questions as they work. Independent practice. This is the point in the lesson in which students are working individually to complete their journal entry assignments and when they are checking each other's work for errors, inaccuracies, etc. They will write the entries in a thin composition notebook to be accompanied by more entries at later time. The students will use the graphic organizers they created to help them write the story, along with handouts regarding grammar usage and Anne Frank's life. Once students have completed their entry drafts, they will break into their assigned pairs and use handouts on the writing process, in addition to the ones previously mentioned, to provide meaningful and constructive criticism to their partners. This will demonstrate that they are able to complete the objective of writing journal entries and will be able to complete more and participate in similar assignments at a later date, and that they are capable of using the writing process and can implement it in all future writing assignments. Closing will occur when the students have been instructed to return to their assigned seats. During this part of the lesson, students will raise their hands, or I will call on them to ask or answer questions to allow them to share portions of their journal entries or feedback, and open the floor for general discussion before dismissal. Formative assessment. I will review both journal entries and critiques to ensure that students have mastered the objective. However, my walkthrough of the classroom as students are also part of my formative assessment. I have chosen these activities because they provide the students with necessary information and modeling for them to perform their tasks throughout the class period, which helps them best complete the objectives and learning goals. I will very easily be able to observe and check for understanding through every step of these activities based on my observation of the students, the level of involvement, and especially when I circulate through the room and read over the journal entries at a later time. Section 5, Materials and Resources. I will use quite a few materials throughout this day's lesson. I will use the whiteboard, and it will be only me using that as a teacher resource to use along with modeling. The students will use handouts, materials that they retrieve from their notebook, including one on the writing process, one regarding grammar usage, and one featuring the facts about Anne Frank and her life. Composition notebooks. Students will use these to record their journal entries. Graphic organizers. Students will use these organizers that they've previously created to help them draft their first journal entry. Activity sheet. Students will use an activity sheet to have a guided mechanism for giving feedback to their partners. Pencils. Students will use these throughout their activities. I have chosen these materials to use because they are just what the students need in order to perform their activities and master their objectives. Students will need to use all of the listed materials in order to do so. Their objectives are to draft their journal entries and, in doing so, not only demonstrate acceptable mastery of language and writing skills, but also to demonstrate understanding of the historical events and biographical events surrounding Anne Frank's life. By recording a fictionalized journal entry using these materials, they will be able to meet their learning goals and further achieve the selective Common Core state standard. Section 6, Evaluation. I will keep constant track of the progress of this lesson by observing each student in all the activities planned for this lesson, which will allow me to make formative assessments as they go along and make their attempt at meeting their new goal. The students will show me that they are on task, that they have the ability to do the assignment, that they can follow directions and implement the above list of materials, which is something that I will always look for as their teacher throughout every lesson. I will make mental notes of students who have trouble with the activities or struggle in any way, and I will intervene where necessary to give another demonstration or remodel, so to speak, the portion of the activity that they are having issues with. The completed first drafts of their journal entries as well as their feedback activity sheets will be reviewed if necessary to provide further comment or instruction. I have chosen this approach for evaluation because it allows me to do so in such a way that there is little pressure to the students. They are able to perform their tasks without feeling like they are being tested and there is only one correct way to fulfill their objectives. This will allow the learning atmosphere to be relaxed, thus allowing the necessary creative energy to flow within the classroom. Through teacher observation, I will be able to monitor student progress and student ability. By having a group session at the end of the lesson, I can evaluate students further not only on their objectives, but on their level of comprehension and, just as vital, their apparent ability to work with others.